Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our Thursday night Anamkara meditation program. With all my heart and with all my love, I welcome you to our program tonight. This evening, what I wanted to do was share a little bit about what's some of the things that happened while I was away in this last month is the new book, Gently Falls Her Rain of Light, a new collection of poetry, has just come out 2 weeks ago. And friend of mine, a fellow Jungian, it's part of my background and training as a Jungian, said, well, Lawrence, you're a true introvert because an extrovert releases a book and they have launches, they go out, they do public speaking. You release a book and you go on a silent retreat by yourself. So we're each true to our own nature. So I'm glad that this has made it because it's really, as people know from the other collections, Kali's Bazaar, penned by Kalidas, and Oh My Beloved, Whisperings from the Divine, heard by Kalidas. These are collections that come through meditative practice, thus that voice of the divine that all of us hear in our own ways, sometimes more clearly, sometimes it's awfully foggy and a lot of static on the line. Um, but it's a way of just sharing that because they wind up being a way of invoking that experience for the reader. And we've been doing this series of courses called Listening to the Divine Within that are based on the previous two collections. And now we're starting a new one this Saturday on this collection. And it's a time where we get together and I read the poems and then it's just listening. What's that reverberation? What's that invocation? What's that living presence of the divine within each one of us that is invoked in so many different ways? When we see, a beautiful spring blossom, it's invoked. When we see beautiful images of the divine, it invokes something. So it's a way of making use of how these words can help invoke that inner experience that we can dive into, deepen our practice, deepen our understanding, deepen our intuition. That's that way of knowing free of words, free of thought, free of concepts, free of logic and rationalization. Just that intuitive experience of the divine presence. That's what it's all about. And in many ways, that's what the practices refine the instrument of mind and body so it can be in that presence, in that intuitive spaciousness, quietness of being in which all is revealed. People also have been writing to me about the previous two volumes, how that's helped just in their practice. They'll keep it by their bedside. They'll read a line or two or a poem, and just it invokes that living presence and becomes a part of their. One woman was telling me it's a part of her nighttime practice. So she falls asleep with that presence really clear for her. So we make use of great writings, great poet saints, Kabir, Hafiz, Rumi, all these extraordinary poet saints, Christian mystics, St. John, St. Teresa. Um, we have the access to them now. And so we need to bathe our consciousness in that. And that kind of practice of contemplation, of deep listening, really is an important part of the practice. And it serves in many ways to help counterbalance what is part of this age of Kali Yuga, that a-dharma, the ignorance, the strife, is so broadcast. That it was said that early on when Kali Yuga was first starting, they said, oh, Kali Yuga is an age where people are bombarded by words. And that was even a couple of thousand years ago. That was before there was all the newspapers and then radio and then internet and then text messages and on, flooding our consciousness with the words that carry the lowest levels of consciousness. It's one of the great insights from the Kashmir Shaivite tradition when they talk about Matrika Shaktis, the little mothers. It's the power of words to create reality. And we live in a net of those created realities, often not even our own. We've picked them up from our culture, from our religion, from politics, from the news, from a song, from, whatever it might be, but they get lodged within. So when you look at the practices, you can see on a very practical level, they're helping to dislodge that. When we're repeating mantra, a pure form of Shakti, a pure matrika. It's the matrika in its highest evolution. It's the matrika Shakti, the power of the infinite to unfold the highest reality rather than the contracted ones of ordinary mind-born words. So mantra is Shakti that isn't mind-born. And when we're running mantras through our system, through our consciousness, through our mind, we're helping to free it from all these old patterns that we call samskaras that go back lifetimes. Mm. They can also just go back from the morning when somebody said something to us and it's still reverberating in our consciousness that we didn't like it or it offended us or brought up an issue or made us sad or upset. How do we deal with that? How do we transform that? How do we free the energy from those bound forms? Well, those are the practices. Those are the practices of meditation, of mantra, of breathing and slowing and deepening the breath. It's just such an automatic part of when we chant or when we slow the breath and bring it into rhythm with mantra, like with Om Namah Shivaya or Om Kalima or Om Mani Padme Hum, right? Or the red Tara mantra, Om Taritam Soha. These mantras have been used by traditions for thousands of years because of that potency, because of their ability to transform our mind. And the mind is the veil through which we look to see the world. So we want to both clear it as well as know how to get it completely out of the way. So the practices are all about that. And studying text, studying whether it's poetry or, countless other fabulous writers and great writers across traditions and across thousands of years that are all now available. Because that was a positive aspect that Kali Yuga was spoken about, that the truth and the highest teachings were said to be more available in Kali Yuga than at any other time. They're here right now. They're coming into your living room, right? We don't have to just go off and find a great master in a cave in the Himalayas, right? We can tap into this living tradition that has been renewed by the direct experience of teachers and lineages over and over across thousands of years, so that what's here and now is alive and full of that power of consciousness because it's the direct lived experience. That's what gets passed on. That's what we want. We want to bathe in that. We want to live in that and walk that into the world, into every aspect of our lives. That's what we're invited to do, because that's also part of Kali Yuga. Is the main practice context is householder sadhana. It isn't going off to a monastery. It's meant to be integrated. It's meant to be understood that every moment is a leaping off point for consciousness to reunite with the infinite, to delight in both the finite play of forms as well as dissolve into the infinitude of being. This is what we're invited. This is what we're given. So we gather together in order to share that, delight in that, help remove the obstacles that prevent us from experiencing what's already fully here, fully present. That's your divinity. This isn't a self-help development course, right? Your divine self is fully present, fully unfolded, fully divine. We need to just simply get the mind out of the way so we can come home to that living truth here and now, always here and now. So in some small ways, Gently Falls Her Rain of Light may serve that way for you if you find yourself drawn to it. And in this collection, I thought I would share a couple of pieces this evening. And so this is a poem called Why Do You Wander the World? My dear friend, why do you wander the world, empty begging bowl in hand, knocking on doors of bankrupt fools? What do you expect they will have? They've given you pity and scorn, crumbs of praise for piety you don't own. Your sincere, deluded efforts carry the fragrance of true love and longing. Turn, turn within, discover where true love and deep longing arise. There, set down your bowl. The one has been waiting to fill it to overflowing, spilling out pure love through all the sense portals, flooding the world. Oh, beggar friend, you are on the brink. Let go. Let go into the emptiness that is the fullness of the one alone. This is what we're summoned to. The world will tell us there are all other kinds of pursuits one should dedicate one's life to, one's give all one's attention to, and they'll sell it to you over and over with increasing cost. The cost of your soul, the cost of consciousness, the cost of real sublime connection. You have to set it aside. We want that living truth because that's the nectar that feeds our soul. We're starving in this world because we've lost that. And the practices, the great teaching across traditions speak to that. If you listen to the mystics, if you listen to the ones who've truly gone beyond, not the philosophers, not the theologians, the mystics, whose hearts burst open because the love of the divine fills us to bursting. That's what we truly long to know. Everything else is a pathetic substitute. Possessions, material rewards. The truth is, we need so little. When we're filled with the infinitude of being, when we're filled with the truth of who we are, when we see that truth in all others, knowing that, the way forward becomes simple, clear, to know and to serve, to know the divine moment by moment, to serve it. Every being, including the one you see in the mirror. This is what we come to. Home to the divine, the living presence of being, purely being. The river flows. The river flows to the ocean on a bed that supports its very existence. We look at the flowing waters, oblivious to the essential underlying foundation of its existence. The river of thoughts and feelings we take ourselves to be Upon what bedrock of existence do they flow to the sea? The relentless stream of I, becoming this and that, moment by fleeting moment, rests on the eternal awareness, the ocean of pure being. Ah, hum, I am. Ah, I am. That is the foundation of our existence. That is the throb of the awareness of our own sublime nature. Without that, the mind wouldn't even exist. The body wouldn't exist. All the movements of mind, all the sensations from the body cease without that. But our attention goes to all the movements, the fluctuations of mind and body. So we don't experience that underlying foundation of our existence, the foundation that is the existence of all beings, all creation, all reality. Meditation is the state that allows us to dwell in that, to abide in that knowing. Meditation practice is a transformative practice, transforming mind and body. They don't create the state of meditation. The state of meditation is continuous, unborn, undying. It's the state of consciousness. It's the state of pure awareness. It's the state that's fully present here and now, watching every thought move through your mind, watching every sensation arise and subside in your body. Awareness, this wide open field of awareness that holds it all, unmoving, unmoving. You see, the mind is movement itself. Its affinity is for movement. It craves movement. Movements of thoughts, movements of sensations, movements of images, movements of sounds. You sit and you just watch. You watch the mind. It jumps after this movement, that movement. It's like a twitchy little dog going after everything it hears. So we teach it to calm, and we reclaim our ability to have the direct experience of awareness unmediated by the mind. Even if the mind is agitated, the spaciousness of being is untouched. The space of this room, unmoved by any movements I make. The spaciousness simply holds it. The light in that spaciousness illuminates it. This is yourself, always present, just like that. What's illuminating? That thought, that sense of me, that reaction. We're shifting our attention from the movements that are so seductive for the mind. They occupy its attention from the moment you wake up until the moment you can't keep awake and fall asleep at night. This is the nature of mind. So we can transform it to some degree, teach it to be quiet and restful, because then it gets to be nurtured by this essential nature of being in ways that consuming anything, consuming information, consuming movies, images, sounds, stimulus, all the things the mind tries to consume, cling to, hold on to, go after, avoid, they exhaust it. It's in the simple state of being that the mind itself is nurtured, strengthened, filled in a way that nothing in the inner world or outer world will ever fill it. Being, simply being the truth of who you are. This is why we do the practices, to know that, to revel in that, to experience the rapturous awareness that is that. The words convey concepts about it. The experience is this rapturous, loving embrace of all that is, nothing left out, no one left out. That's the state of the divine. That's the state of God within. That's the state of the truth of who you are. And then that more and more informs the mind and body, so they can see past the form that that person is taking in their anger, in their frustration, in their afflicted nature, in their ignorance, because all the pain of the world, all the strife, all the conflict is born out of that ignorance. Because in ignorance, we flail about, creating suffering for ourselves and others. The true antidote is knowing, true knowing. So we're called to know and then walk that into the world to help transform the world, help free all beings from suffering, born of ignorance, not knowing. So to that end, we practice. We get together in satsang, keeping the company of the truth. We read, we contemplate, we study, we keep the mind immersed in mantra. Because if the mind's not doing mantra, it's doing thoughts. Where are the thoughts taking us? Mantrika Shaktis, they're binding things, they're contracting things. Sometimes that's in service. That's dharmic. Sometimes our thinking and our actions, they're dharma. That's fine. We can do it with detached awareness, delight in it, and know it's not who you are. But until we've gotten free enough not to become the thought that arises, not to become feeling, the reaction, all the stuff, the history, the stories we tell ourselves, the narratives about our lives, until we've gotten free of that, keep the mind protected by mantra, a throb of your own sublime nature, given by yourself, to yourself, to free yourself. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kalima, Om Mani Padme Hum. La ilaha illallah, Ein Od Milvado. Great mantras of the world carry the message of the living presence of God moment by moment. But that's not what informs ordinary consciousness, ordinary life. Because we've bought into the substitutes that we're given, as if we're going to feel better if we ate this, drank this, possessed this, bought that, worked harder, got more, all that. So the radical approach to living in the world that sadhana practices give us is to free us from those, the confines of those limiting ideas, structures, belief systems. So we can live fullness. We can live love. can live the divine embrace into this world. So hungry for a heart to hold it. So you're God's heart. Hold those in suffering. Hold the world. They may be healed and uplifted. That we can walk peace, consciousness, awareness, how to be caring and kind to one another. To do that, we have to free ourselves from the clamorings of the ego mind that's always going, me, mine, I. I'm lacking this, I want that. Don't take it away from me. Freedom. To be free of all of that. So we're going to be taking refuge in mantra, because mantra is such a essential practice for this age, for helping to hold the mind in a throb of the infinite that can transform mind and body, attune us to the truth of who we are, that we may really abide in that, abide in the state of union that embraces all diversity as well as unity, that sees with clarity and discernment, discrimination, viveka. So we're not fooled. We're not fooled by someone's nastiness. We can see the divine, the other side of that. We're also not fooled by saying, oh, they're just another form of the divine, I have to accept that. No, we have to have a much higher, clearer, mature way of living that spiritual truth into the world. What serves knowing, what serves Dharma, what serves the highest. So as we chant, we'll be chanting, and this is a set of mantras from the CD that we released several years ago, and they're called the World Mantras. It's on the Om Namah Shivaya meditation and chanting CD. And we've done it in evening programs in the past. And so it's a set of mantras from traditions around the world. And so there's Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. There's Om Kali Durga Ma. There's Om Mani Padme Hum from the Buddhist tradition. Hail the jewel in the lotus, your Buddha nature. Om Daritam Soha. That's an invocation of Red Tara, right? So we have Red Tara, who appeared in a vision, and I was given that. But she is an inflection, a form of the infinite that helps to remove obstacles and bring to seekers what they need to realize their highest nature. La ilaha illa Allah, right? Great Muslim mantra that the one God, it doesn't matter if we call it Allah, Yahweh, Krishna, one God. There's a one God. How do we stay focused on that? Give our full attention to that. Not fight over who called it what name. Become immersed in that. This is the great Sufi masters, the mystics of the Islam tradition, that come to know that highest, that embraces all. Not used for divisiveness. Ein od milvado from the Jewish tradition. There is nothing that is not God. The great Hasidic masters, there is nothing that is not God. Nothing. Once a rabbi was asked, what do you mean there's nothing that is not God? What about that steaming lump of shit the dog just left on the street? The rabbi said, yes, even that. Nothing left out. Nothing. There is nothing that is not God. We hear that in the Shaivite tradition. Nashivam vidyate kvachit. There's nothing that is not the consciousness of Shiva, the auspicious one. Whole concept of inside and outside disappears. That's mind-born. God only sees himself, herself, all God, all there is. Come home to that. And the mercy and grace of the divine, invoked by Kyrie eleison and Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, Sancta Maria, the great mother, mother of God, Mater Dei. These are all ways of attuning our hearts, our consciousness to what is, what already is. Not creating it, becoming attuned to it. Removing the veils. So we'll chant for a few minutes, and then we'll just sit in the stillness. That's the gift of mantra. The gift of chant is the stillness. To just rest in that. If the mind moves, let it move with mantra. But if it ceases movement, rest there. Rest there. In the foyer of the beloved. Ready for the divine embrace. An embrace. It embraces your entire life. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Kali Durga Ma. Om Kali Durga Ma. Om Kali Durga Ma. Om Kali Durga Ma. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Taritam Soha. Om Taritam Taritam Soha. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Ainod milvado. Ainod milvado. Ainod milvado. Ainod milvado. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Kyrie eleison. Santa Maria. Santa Maria. Mater Dei. Mater Dei. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Taritam Soha, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah. Ainod milvado, Ainod milvado, Ainod milvado, Ainod milvado, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Sancta Maria, Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, Mater Dei. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Taritam Soha, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah. Ainod milvado, Ainod milvado, Ainod milvado, Ainod milvado, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Kyrie eleison, Sancta Maria, Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, Mater Dei. Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Kali Durge Ma, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Taritam Soha, Om Taritam Soha, La ilaha illa Allah, La ilaha illa Allah, Kyrie eleison, Sancta Maria, Sancta Maria, Mater Dei, Mater Dei. We end with this prayer. And may all our practices truly benefit everyone. And may all beings know complete freedom from suffering. Namaste. Keep taking refuge in the mantra, in the stillness that gives birth to mantra. Moment by moment. The throb of the infinite is already arising within. The ancient sages, they heard what was already there. So to this day, as people become still, silent in the depths, they hear the mantras arising spontaneously. Listen for that. You're giving birth to the divine, moment by moment. The divine is that consciousness, all embracing, sees through the eyes of love. That's what we're capable of, moment by moment, birthing that into the world. So I want to thank you all for coming this evening, for being ones dedicated to the highest, to doing the practices that empower you to know that, live that, revel in that, moment by moment, in everyday life. And coming this evening to share the power of your practices, the presence of your consciousness. We're all connected in that. We swim in that same ocean. So thank you. And thank you for the many ways you support Anamkara, sharing e-newsletter, sharing the videos, letting people know about what we offer. Just here to serve. So thank you. Thank you for joining in that. And then I look forward to seeing you again in 2 weeks.